Hi everyone, Samuel here again, and today we'll be talking about functions or methods in Java. Okay, let me just increase my screen so it can be visible to all, make it a full screen. Okay, so we're talking, like I said, we're talking about functions or methods in Java. Okay, the link to this, I'm using an online Java compiler, and the link to this online Java compiler will be at the description below. Okay, without further ado, let us start. So you can use an online Java compiler like I'm using, any one of your choice, or you can use an IDE like IntelliJ, NetBeans, Android Studio to do this. It will work just fine. Okay, what is a function? Okay, functions are a collection of statements that are grouped together in order to bring clarity and simplicity to your code. Let's take for instance, or for an example, you want to write like 5 lines of code. You write 5 lines of code and you intend to reuse these lines of code, like you intend to write these 5 lines of code in different places. So instead of writing the 5 lines of code again and again, this code is grouped into what we call functions, and then this function can be called anytime you want to use these lines of code. Okay, the most important function in Java is the main function. So this is the architecture of how a function ought to look like in Java. Public static is the modifier. This can be private or public depending on the accessibility you want, how accessible you want your methods to be to other methods or classes. Okay, static, we'll talk about that later. Void, sorry about that. Void means is the return type, and here we're not returning anything, and that's why it's void. And we have main, which is the name of the method. Starts with a small letter, main, unlike the name of a class that starts with a capital letter. This starts with a normal small letter, so M small letter, and then this is the argument of the parameter, sorry, of the method, and the parameter is a string array with name args. Okay, so this is the standard main method, the way it ought to be written. Okay, so we have system.out.printing hello world. So this line of code just prints hello world to the console. Okay, let me just run it. Yeah, that is it, hello world to the console. Okay, and then why do we have to why methods? It makes our code easy to read. It saves time as voids. It saves time as it avoids rewriting codes. And lesser codes means less app size also. Okay, I'll be making a slideshow which will be made available to you, okay, within 24 hours. A slideshow of this presentation. Okay, so that's it. So let's give some examples of a function or a method. So this is why I say the main method is the most important method in Java is that the Java compiler only recognizes code written in the main method. Any code written outside the main method is not recognized by the Java compiler. Okay, you see what I mean as I also give an example of writing method. So I want to write a method that public static void hello world returns nothing void, and then has no parameter also here, as you can see. Okay, and then like this. So I'll just bring this code system out Ctrl X, and I'll put it here, and I'll try and run this code now. Okay, you see that it returned nothing. There's no results in the console, and that's because there was no code written in the main method. So what we need to do now is to call this method we've created a method to call it inside the main method, and this I will call it. Remember, this method has no parameter here, so this is just how we'll just call it hello world. Okay, and that is the semicolon, and then let's run it now. Voila, hello world. See, it runs. Okay, there are other examples, complex examples, okay, that we can go into, but let me just take a complex example that doesn't return anything per se. Okay, let me see. Okay, sorry. Okay, let me write this public static void, it does not return anything, void is even. So that's the name of my method, is even. Okay, if num, I'm using an if statement, if num, sorry about that, modulus 2 0, I want it to do something, else do something. So I want it to print something if the number modulus 2, that's if modulus 2 means when you divide the number by 2, the remainder, if the remainder is equal to 0, we should system print num plus is even, else it should print num plus is odd. So if it's not an even number, definitely it's an odd number. Okay, so if we run this as this now, we'll have error talking about the number error. So that different errors, and I'll be fixing them right now. Okay, first, number num, it's not there's no parameter. It does not recognize this num because it's not stated as a parameter. Okay, it's not stated as a parameter, which it ought to have been stated as a parameter. So to fix that, we'll put it here as a parameter num, and then even if we should run the code now, it won't still, the errors will be gone, but then it won't compile. The errors will be gone, but it won't compile. Why? Because we have not called it in the main method. So it's even has a parameter of int, so we'll be putting some integers to test this method. So let's say 4 is an integer, and then we'll be trying 7 also. 7 is also an integer. So let's run the code. Okay, see, 4 is even, 7 is odd. 4 is even, 7 is odd. So that's how functions work, and that also pre-installed functions in Java. Okay, as you get to practice more, you get to experience them as you go. So thank you. This is Samuel here. Till meet again. Bye. Okay.